So I'm Fabio Franzini. I'm Microsoft MVP on Microsoft 365 development. And today I want to show you one project that we built internally in my company to resolve the client-side provisioning problem in SharePoint framework. So first of all, why the provisioning is still a friction point in SharePoint framework? When we create SharePoint web part or application inside SharePoint with the SharePoint framework, probably we need to create some list for storage, or we need to change something like add column on the default libraries and so on. The problem is that we don't have a good way to automate this inside the client-side project that you are already created on SharePoint framework. Of course, we have some great options, like the PnP provisioning is the most important way to make a provision inside Microsoft 365. But this way that is very awesome have a big problem. We need to have an Enter ID app registration. So in a consultancy company like Apvee, sometimes we have problem to the customer to ask to register an Enter ID application for use the PnP provisioning. So the idea is that the PnP provisioning is outside the scope of SharePoint framework, and every time we need to ask and then get an approval to create an Enter ID application, do the deployment, and so on. So it's powerful, but have this requirement. The second way, of course, is to use the default capability of SharePoint, that it's the site design or site script. This is very interesting because having a declarative model based on JSON, of course, you can define a lot of actions. But again, one of the big problem is that you need to deploy at the tenant level, the site script, and then when you have deployed, you are able to invoke by API or manually inside SharePoint to apply a specific template like create lists and so on. This could be another problem because if I want to install a web part inside on a specific site and deploy some list, for example, inside that site, we need to deploy first with the site's design script, the script at the tenant level. Again, this require more permissions that probably the customer don't have or need to ask to the admins to do this. So we start to think on a different approach. We create internally a library based on SharePoint framework, of course, to do this completely in the client side and with the delegate permission. So this means that every part of the provisioning works with the permission of the user. This is great because when I install a web part inside on a site, probably I'm the owner or the admin of the site, and then I'm able to create lists and everything inside that site. It's declarative. Later I show you. It's based on a JSON, and this is very, very close to the site design and site scripts. The idea is to design on a JSON with all the actions. I'm able to put the correct order of the action to do the provisioning. It's on a schema first validation, so we have validation on that. And another cool thing is the ability to make a compliance check to view if the model, the provisioning schema, is already deployed or it's partially deployed or need to be applied. The core of this library, it's based on PnP.js. So every operation that we made in this library is based on PnP.js before. We use Zod v4 just to validate the schema. And the execution model is based on shared scope. This means that every action inherits the scope from the previous one. This means that, for example, if I need to create a list and then add some fields, for example, to the list, the scope of the list is shared with the child actions and so on. So this is very interesting and very powerful. The idea of the process, it's we take the JSON payload, we validate with our schema, we start to execute the action. Every action are able to enrich the scope, and then we are able to run the sub-action for each action. The library contains some components. The main components, it's the provisioning dialog. It's based on Fluent UI 9 and is the visual orchestrator of the provisioning. Of course, we have internally exposed the class of the engine, of course. You can invoke manually, but in the context of SharePoint, when we use React, for example, it's very powerful to use a component to do that. So we have the provisioning dialog. Later I show you in a demo. We have two property pane components. One is the provisioning field component that use internally the provisioning dialog and the hooks to do the works. And we added a property pane site selector field that basically it's a simple site selector. In this way, I'm able to work on the current site, or we can switch on the hub site of this site, or on a specific site that I'm able to search. If you don't want to use the dialog or the fields, of course, you can use the React hooks that we created. So we have the use SPFx provisioning engine that internally use the real provisioning engine made in TypeScript, or maybe and you can use the provisioning derived state that it's a simple hook that transform the snapshot of the engine for each action and transform this snapshot into a friendly UI derived state. So this is very, very cool. This is the payload. This is a simple version of the payload, and it's very, very close to the site script. You can see the schema version, the version of the payload, the title. We can define the actions. You can more than one, of course. For each action, we have a specific verb, and for each action, we can have some sub-actions. This means that we can have an action for modify an SP site, like, for example, the title, if I define the property, on description and so on, and then we can create for that site the list, and for that list we can create, for example, add the SP field or enable the rating for that list. Currently, we have some actions. We are creating some action for create SP site, modify SP site, delete site. We can action specific for list. And we have action specific for fields. That is mean not only fields for list, like add SP field for a specific list, but we can create site column at the site level and then add this site column to a specific list. At this moment, the catalog is not much big, the catalog of action, but this is very so the action that we have, it's cover the majority of scenarios that we need in SharePoint framework, like create some list to save the web part data. So let me show the demo. Probably I need to make a zoom in. Okay. So let me start first with this part. This is the property pane of the web part, of course, and we are able to see the two property pane controls. One is the provisioning site URL. So this means that it's just on a simple site selector. We are able to select the current site, that is the default. If the current site have the parent hub site, I'm able to select, or I'm able to search some site that I want to use. The second control is this one. it's the real control that are able to make the provisioning. So in this case, I'm able to view that the provisioning, it's not applied, but I'm able to click on provision to start the provisioning. Of course, this is the first part of the dialog that show me if I'm sure to execute the provisioning. If I'm click on run, the dialog open this UI that show you the progress of the provisioning, in this case of the current site, and you are able to see all the logs. The logs, it's very interesting because for each action that I defined inside the provision schema, it's showed here, and I'm able to view if it's executed and with how much time spent to execute the creation of the list and then add the SP field and so on. I'm able to view the result, the global result of the provisioning, and I'm able to view what is the number of success action that it's already executed. If I try to execute the provision, you're able to see that if the list is already present, it's completely skipped. The overall process is successed, but all the action it's already skipped. So we are managed all the state. In this case, if I need to create a list, but the list is already present, we can skip totally. This is very powerful when you need to modify a new version of the web part and you need to add, for example, new SP field to that web part. But we can make just a check to view if the provision it's compliant or not. And in this case, we added the possibility. This is very cool to make the deprovision of the list, for example. If I click on deprovision, I'm asked to the confirmation. Yes, of course, I want to deprovision. And basically, we do the same thing, but in this case, by deleting SP list. So the payload, in this case, it's very, very simple. We have an object provisioning plan with everything. We have the action, and the cool part is that we can use the parameters. This means that we can reuse these keys inside, for example, the title of the create SP list or inside the description by using the correct value. And in this case, we have for the provisioning, the create SP list, add SP field, and so on. In this case, for each sub-action for create SP list, we have a specific field type, and for each field type, we have the in a typed way, we have all the property that we need to set for this specific field type. But what about the deprovisioning? So the deprovisioning, it's the same thing. We reuse the provisioning plan because basically the deprovisioning it's execute, in this case, the delete SP field actions. So when we have to deprovision, we need just to define the payload and then use the action to delete SP list for the order list and the customer list in the correct order. There are the last demo. It's the most complex one. Is this one? In this case, the demo are able to execute all the actions that we made. And this means that we are able to create SP site. In this case, we created the engineering portal with a specific URL. And then you are able to see that we have a lot of actions that one by one will be executed in the order that I put it inside the plan. Let me show you the complete plan. This is basically the same thing, but with all actions. So we have the possibility to create not only communication site, but team sites. In this case, I commented this part, but of course works. And we have all the action that we can do. Every action it's typed. This means that if you write something that it's not compliant to the specific verb, you have the error in the compile time. Okay, the provisioning is completely executed, and then if I click again on check, I'm able to view every information. If I'm able to open this site, this is the engineering portal created with the engineering request and the engineering documents with all the fields that I added inside the list and the libraries. Okay, let me show you just the reference of the project. So this is the URL. It's an open project. The repository is open to everyone. It's MIT license, so you can contribute or you can fork to use by yourself. The plan is to finalize something and then publish this framework as an NPM package that you can reuse in your project without problem. Just add the package to your package JSON and then use. Yeah, thank you.